Welcome to No Church Church. Thank you so much for joining us today. You know, I was challenged the other day. I've been challenged a lot lately. And I heard this guy, he said, all police are bad police. All police are corrupt police. And, you know, I've even heard somebody make the statement of that if you're black, once you become blue, you're then blue, you're not black. And I thought that was kind of a blanket statement. And it was kind of challenged to me because I talk against pastors and churches and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I don't want to be the guy who devalues the importance of pastors and church and to say that they don't have a part, because to me, everybody has a position, a part to fill. To me, it's the system that they're in keeps them from being able to be as great as they can be. You know, I don't really know any happy pastors. I don't really even know any happy policemen. I don't know any happy educational teachers. I just don't know a lot of happy people who are caught up in these systems that feel like it's fulfilling their life, you know? And I was even watching American Idol the other day, and I was challenged because Simon is saying, hey, you're good at something. You got skills. You're great. And the people are weeping and crying. And I thought, how great is that somebody who's not technically what we would call a pastor, who's got thousands and millions of people looking for his words of affirmation to say, man, you're doing a good job. You're valuable. You're important. You've got great skills. And they just don't get it. They don't hear it. And so then they break down and weep with emotion of, oh my God, I am important. I am valuable. I am good. And for me, Simon Cowell's probably got the biggest platform right now of pastors. You know, he's kind of saying, hey, you can step up your game a little bit here. Hey, he's exhorting people to follow their dreams and their skills and do things. And then I think about like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift talks about equality for gay people. She does a song, hundreds of millions of downloads for this song talking about equality. Then she does this one on If I Was a Man, and she's talking about equality for women. And it's a shock to me that the church can only get less than 100 people into the doors, and because probably their messaging is so wrong. They're so condemning, and that's what I mean by the system. If you're a pastor and you have a church, it's kind of like you fit into that system so that you can't be that great and it reaches out to people because you have the demand of the laws, rules, regulation of the system of church, of how it operates, right? So you've got to demand that people go to hell. You've got to demand that there's a sinner. You've got to put a perk on your people for following you, giving you that they're good or better than other people. And that's the system that you're living out of, if you realize it or not. Once you take on that title of pastor, once you put that church out there and you put on that, come visit our church, we welcome all, you are now the system. And why do people know that that church sign out front that says we welcome all is a lie? Because once they get inside, they hear the system say, you're not good enough. You need to do better. You need to work harder on yourself. You need to. And they don't like that system. And then Jesus comes along and, you know, he says a different system. He says, I don't condemn you. I don't put you down. I don't degrade you. I don't call you a sinner. I don't do these demeaning things. He added value to people's lives. He created a new system. You know, for me, it was not a shock that this policeman jumped on, you know, Michael Floyd, because there was not one policeman. It was all the policemen on the scene. There was like 5 guys on top of them, right? And so for me, the system said, hey, it's okay to combat this guy, control him, demand him, demean him, to put him down, to be on top of him. Now, for me, I love police. I've been probably engaged in police over 100 times. I know it seems like a lot. I'm 45 years old, but I mean, I started at a young age. I was breaking in, you know, to places, breaking entry. I was stealing cars. I was selling drugs. I was doing all kinds of bad things. And really, even now, I probably on average, I probably meet about 4 to 5 police a year because they pull me over because I like to go fast. And, I remember one time I just didn't get my light fixed. I was like, I want to see how many police pulled me over. I didn't really want to fix my light. It takes time. You got to go there. You got to wait. It's about 10 minutes, but no big deal. So I challenged. I said, well, how many police will pull me over in a year? I actually got pulled over that year close to 10 times. And, one time it was the same guy goes, how long do you want me to give you before you fix this light? And I was like, I don't know, another year? But for me, I love police. The problem is they're in the system. And that's where somebody says, oh, once you're black and you go blue, now you're blue, you're corrupt. I don't believe the person, the individual. I don't believe somebody wakes up in the morning, white or black, and says, man, I have so much hatred and racism in my heart that I want to try to murder somebody else, another fellow human. Now, I'm not to say that all policemen are the top shelf of the society either. I know of policemen, and I've been engaged in some things that I'm like, what? I've heard some things about policemen and I'm like, what? But the system does take great quality people and kind of demand that they follow the instructions. So what happens with the instruction of a police officer? Keep control of the situation. Everybody lies to you. I don't know how many times I have a police officer ask me the same thing over and over and over, thinking that I'm going to say something different. I've had cars searched. I've had, people think I'm other people because I don't carry my driver's license. And they're like, well, how do I know you're not lying to me? And I'm like, well, I'm telling you the truth. But since I don't have a driver's license, I don't have proof. So they're constantly believing that you're a liar, And so for me, when the guy says, hey, I can't breathe, they're sitting there saying, oh, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. And that's the problem here is the system is demanding that they believe everybody is an absolute liar. But see, our law says that you are innocent until proven guilty. But the system of police, it's you're guilty until you can prove to me by me asking you enough questions that you're innocent. And so it's kind of weird because we have one law one way and then the police system operates another way. Again, I think we should have more police. I think it's great that police have guns and they can protect themselves and protect us. I value that police work needs to be paid more. It's very important for society. I am for police, but I do see that there's a situation happening in the system that police are even calling in because they're like, what's going on here? You're hurting us. You're beating us. It's like police officers now have to go to the streets. So instead of having one victim, now basically every police officer is a victim, and that's not right. And so for me, I love the men and women of the police department. I love the men and women in churches. I love the men and women who are pastors. And see, some people caught right there and they're saying, whoa, women pastors? That's right. I love the men and women who are pastors, who give to society. And for me, I think that that's just the absolute utter disgrace that the system of the church does not allow women pastors. And so what do? They're forced to do some other ministry somewhere else. They're forced to do a homes ministry or food ministry or be a traveling minister or something because they cannot hold the title of pastor. And to me, that's an absolute disgrace in the system of church. But if you're a pastor, what are you going to do? You're not going to offer your position that's paid to a woman because then where's your value? And so we just put people down and we demean them and we say the Lord's going to bless you. Work for free for all of your life, but let the pastor be paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because that's the system. But for me, in all honesty, it's not just church. It's not just police. It's the government system. It's also business system. We have our own system in business. It's education system. It's mortgages and stuff like that. All of these things have created systems around them that has hindered society. And I understand that black people would say, yeah, man, I feel the frustration. Because they go to school for 12 years, they graduate, they don't have any skill sets. They have to then take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans to go to college to get skill sets. And then they can't find the jobs, or their skill set doesn't meet the demand of the market. And so now they're hundreds of thousands of dollars in hold on student loans. They can only get a $30,000 to $50,000 job. Average Black Americans can only make $40,000 a year. This should be mind-blowing to us, that they're going to have $120,000 to $150,000 student loan debt, and then they're only going to make $40,000 a year. You know, for me, the other thing that brings in the problem is because they have such a big debt. And one, the Democratic Party, I don't take parties, I don't vote, I'm not a registered voter, but the Democratic Party brought it into law that you can never, ever, ever go bankrupt or have that loan forgiven by student loan, because they want that money for the rest of your life. And basically they're enslaving you to that debt, right? Debt means enslaving. It doesn't matter if it's a house, if it's a car, it's anything. You owe your life to that debt. And for me, how can you buy a house when you're already $150,000 in the hole? Because that goes against your credit rating. And again, we're in a system. And so for me, it's frustrating. I can see the frustration of not making enough money, having too much debt, not being able to buy a house. I think everybody should own a house. I don't think there should be rentals. And I own real estate. For me, I was a slumlord, right? I mean, I bought low-income houses. I had just as many Black people as white people in the houses. And for me, it was great because it's like, oh, they're going to pay my rent. They're going to pay it off. I'm going to make money. 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 But at some point, I ended up thinking, holy moly, this is wrong. Now, the Bible, says that you should be a lender. And so it makes sense to loan, rent my house out so that they would pay that off. The Bible tells me I can do it. But here's the problem with that is I saw a lady live in a house for 10 years. I then bought the house and she ended up living in the house for another 10 years. And I'm sitting there saying, I can't do this anymore, where somebody's enslaving their life just to live in a house. Why not be able to let them have that house? Why not be able to let them have ownership, feel the value of that house, feel like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something with my life, feel the privilege of, being able to pay off that and own that house themselves instead of rent for all of their life. And, for me, I've got friends, they're making $100,000 plus a year. Black guy, $100,000+ a year, and he still rents. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why don't you buy a house? And he says, my mom rented and I've just been renting and and for me, I was like, no, let's work on getting you into a house. Let's change the system. Let's get you to home ownership. You're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars by renting. And so it was, let's change the system. So I changed my business model in real estate from renting to owner finance. So now I owner finance the homes. Yes, I do lose money because after a point in time, they will own that home and I'll have to find another home or I have to do something different to get that income back in, but I'm still making a profit and they're still getting what they should deserve. When you're making payments all of your life, you deserve that benefit of the access of that house. You should deserve to be able to pay that off and have that ownership. And so I changed my model from, being a renter to being the bank. Hey, at this point in time, you pay these payments, you're going to own this house. And it brought great value to those people and those families. And I love my model now. Yes, I don't make as much money, but to me, it's okay because if I believe all mankind, all humanity is going to go to heaven, then I think I might get a hug once they say, man, thank you for changing your model. Thank you for changing your mindset. Thank you for changing the system. And instead of demanding that I be enslaved to you, you freed me. Thank you. And give me a hug because I believe people are going to be in heaven. And I think we're going to be getting these kind of conversations based on some of the good things we do and value for other people. So for me, I think we should also change the system of education. It is utterly ridiculous. We go to school for 12 years and don't get real skills. Why are we doing education in what basically was made 200, 500, 10, 1,000 years ago? I don't know how long it's been the same way. But to me, People in America are not skilled based when they come out of school. And even if they are skilled based, right? We took away the mechanics, we took away home ec, we took away shop, we took away all of these things that showed people skills. Why did we do that? Because the political party decided to take that away so that the education, the secondary education of colleges, tech schools, could charge people and make huge amounts of money. So they have to put a demand on you being too stupid to do anything that you need to spend more money on school. And that's a problem to me. Let's change the system where your kids stop doing English and math and these things, 5th, 6th grade, 8th grade, tops. And then you get into high school and you start learning some real skills that will help them be able to meet the new demands of tomorrow. Not just the old, but the new things. Let's put in agriculture, farming. Let's start making these projects bigger. I know there's 4-H in schools and stuff like that. I just think that we should totally revamp and say, what skills can education give people with the tax money that we're taking from these parents to educate their kids? Let's do something different. I'm going to also say this. I'm big on behavior groups. And I think it's just so demeaning for a kid who's going to have an analytical teacher, and this kid's a promoter. So he's thinking creatively and he's thinking outside of the box. And then you have this teacher who's analytical, says, nope, you did not do that exactly the way it should be done. Man, what if we could pair people up by behavior groups, and you have a promoter teacher with promoter kids? And so when somebody does something off the wall or shouts or expression by what they do, then the teacher would say, oh, good job. I never thought about it like that. And they could give them the good words of affirmation or guide them and be helpful instead of scold them and say, sit down and shut up. When are we going to think differently in the ways that people think? I think that's the important thing. If I were to go up to a black person and say, man, we are equal, that would be great. But the problem is, unless that black person goes back at me and says, we are equal, then this is a one-sided conversation, right? Unless they can feel the same way that I feel. Well, what about education? When are we going to be able to say, yes, we need these type of skills so that our kids could be more valuable to the market, people around them? I'm almost at the point where I think even the prison system, the penal system of punishment needs to be changed. I was a little tested by the first time when they're like, oh, we're reducing down drug charges, and we're doing all these things. For me, even the probation officers, the system that they've created around this is ridiculous. I've got a friend, she was on meth. She's done all the rehab. She's done all the prison time. She's totally done the whole entire system. She's paid all of her payments. She's done everything. And they said, we've never seen anybody come off meth, so we're just going to keep you in the system. What? This is crazy. And then they're putting people back in jail if they break probation. And why are we making it so tough? Why are we making the system the way that it is? For me, I don't punish my kids unless I've had a conversation with them about the do's and don'ts. Hey, don't punch your sister in the face. And I sit down and I say, here's why I don't want you to punch her face. Here's what it could do, the harm it could do. Here's how it make her feel. And just go over the conversation and make it a well-rounded, good quality conversation where I hear feedback. And do you think this is good for you to punch your sister in the face? And all of that. And then if they punch their sister in the face, we've had the conversation. I've explained to them why. I've done my due diligence and importance to say, why I thought. And then they even told me what they thought. And then I'm sitting here saying, all right, we had this conversation. It did not mean anything to you. And so you did something that we talked about not doing. At that point, I could maybe start ingrading some punishments, but really, is punishment going to help? Or do I need to go a little bit deeper of what was it that put you over emotionally, that you felt out of control, that you had to punch her? And that's what I'm trying to say is, when are we taking the time to help people? All we're doing is punish them, say, well, you should know. Well, you should know. Well, you shouldn't do. Well, you shouldn't. And back to the systems of the pastors and churches. They're basically saying, well, you should know what God wants and you should do your best. And then we do it with the punishment of society. We say, well, you shouldn't have sped. Well, you shouldn't have done this. Well, you shouldn't have done that. But are we giving people the right skills in life so that they don't have nowhere else to go but riot in the streets, break in buildings? If people aren't working, they were just banned in houses for weeks and weeks and weeks and months. And now they're looting, well, maybe they don't have money. Maybe they see an opportunity. I'm not saying looting's right, but for me, it was real weird because I'm talking to a Christian brother who got $100,000 from the government because he owns a business. And he's talking about, oh, it's the blessing of the Lord, brother. I'm highly favored and blah, 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 blah. Well, then wouldn't we do the same thing and say, well, the looters who are getting this, they are highly blessed and favored of God because they are getting the reward and the blessing of what their efforts are. That's how stupid we talk when we say we're highly blessed and favored of the Lord because we got something that we didn't deserve. Well, the looters didn't get something they deserve, so are they highly blessed? But see, the system is so dumb that it makes us say dumb things. And I think we need serious change. I think we need serious change with churches, serious change with pastors, serious change with police, serious change with education, serious change with business, serious change with the government, serious change with punishment, serious change with mortgages and how we do credits. It's ridiculous that, they got this credit system that says if you're a valuable, important, good quality person, how much should you get? It's so demeaning. I am cash poor, good credit, cash poor. I make a lot of money. I got a lot of business, got a lot of investments out there, but I don't always have a lot of cash, but they won't give you the cash that you need all the time. So you're almost at the point of, I know how to do business. I've got business. I can establish, I can make more money. I can make more profits, but they won't let you have what you need financially because of your credit rating. How demeaning is that? For me, business, I told a black guy the other day, he's 45 years old. I told him, I said, I'm not going to hire you anymore. And I know that, it's probably a pretty charged statement right now, what's going on. But I said this, and this is what made me think. It made me question. It made me learn and try to think differently. Every time I paid this guy, it was never enough. He's like, oh man, he's like, I owe this, I do this, I got this, my daughter's going to college. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to hire you anymore. And again, it sounds mean, but to me, I told him, you need to become the boss. I'm a boss, and I'm trying to tell him, you become me. You go get the jobs. You go get the contracts. You go make the money because you're never, ever, ever going to get by in life until you start acting like me, until you start doing what it takes to get the jobs. I can't pay you what you need. I can't pay you what you really even deserve. I've got to almost skim the table a little bit so I can get my cut. But I told him, I says, man, there's so much money out there to be made. And so I changed his focus on relying on me to relying on him and relying on God in him to lead him and guide him. I literally gave him my entire index on my phone. I gave him every email. I gave him every contact. I gave him everybody. I gave him a letter of recommendation. I told him who to call, when to call, what to say, how to say it. I called him back, and then I talked to him about other websites and things that I talked to him about other contractors, what to do, what to say, how to say it, when to say it. I told him, all of these things, and I said, really, it just depends on one relationship. You only need one. And so what you're doing is you're siphoning through all of these people, all of these relationships to find the one guy who believes in you, wants to do business with you. And then you hook your wagon to them and you do everything it takes to keep that relationship and make it important. He goes, 27 years, nobody has ever told me the information you've told me. Black guy, 27 years with a skilled business, never was promoted to being his own boss because nobody would tell him what to do, how to do it, where to go, that he was capable of doing it, showing him how to get money and how to write the contracts and how to do all these things. Nobody took the time because the system is, I want you to work for me. I want you to be poor. I want you to come back Monday morning. I want you under my demand and control because you're in such need of money that you can do nothing else but come to me for your money. And to me, that system's wrong. And to me, there's tons of work out there. I cannot do all of the flooring work in the whole world. I can't do all the flooring work in the whole state. I can't do all the flooring work in the own city. I just don't have that capability. So it's utterly ridiculous for me as a boss to say, you're mine. You're going to work for me. I'm going to pay you this and nothing else. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do anything for you. You're going to work for the rest of your life for me. That's wrong. So I had to think differently. I had to change. I had to help this guy do that. I met a woman the other night and we were talking about business at the dinner table. And I was like, man, if you ever have any questions, let's talk, you know? And for me, I'm helping more people now become business people because I have become a business person. And it took a long time. For me, my uncle has taught me how to do the flooring, how to do tile work. And he told me there's two types of people, book smart me and, book smart people and me, get my dumb butt in the truck. I've been doing tile work ever since. But then I saw him a couple years later and he goes, man, I wish I would have showed you more about the business. He says, I taught you the skill, but I didn't ever teach you the business. And why? Because people would rather not teach you how to become the boss because then you always stay the slave to them. You always stay in need of them. And that's not the way we should make this thing. We need to change the system of business. Why not give profit sharing? Why not have it to where everybody could be their own boss? What if that was, to happen? What if the union, instead of having the union of, this is how much my union member should make. What if everybody quit the union and they're like, we're going to be all bosses. Everybody's a boss. Nobody's an employee. Everybody has profit share. Nobody's an employee. Everybody has their own making. And that's kind of the question. We'd say, that would never work because some people like to be employees. And I know that. I've talked to a guy before and I was trying to encourage him about being his own boss. And he's like, I like working for the man. Well, funny thing is now he has his own business, so I think it just takes time to think differently about yourself and about the system, but we need to do that. And, I just want to kind of close this thing out with saying, I love pastors. I love churches. I love people who go to churches. It's the system that I see is so ugly. I love police. I love, what they do for us. I don't even mind that they pull me over. I don't mind them doing their job. But I do see that there's some problems in the system. Education, I see there's some problems in the system. In business, I see there's some problems in the system. In government, I see there's some problems in the system. Mortgages, credit, I see there's some problems in the system. Punishment, probation, I see there's some problems in the system. Everybody who works in any of these systems, I love them. I think they're important, they're valuable. But I think there's some changes that we need to make. So my question is to you, what changes do you need to make? Maybe it's changes with your family. Maybe if you want to listen to Marriage Now What? We talk about what some of the problems are with marriage. Me and my wife are very vulnerable and we expose lots of things that have happened to us and how we've acted and how we reacted. Maybe it's as far as you're a business person, you're saying, man, I could give more. I could teach more. What's your exit strategy on business? Well, maybe if you don't have one, maybe your first step needs to be is train and teach somebody how to take over your business, how to be the boss of that business. Or why not just teach people how to be bosses of their own businesses just because you value people? What would that reward look like when you're in heaven? If you can work at the church as a volunteer, wiping snotty kids' noses, while the pastor's preaching to get that money, then What would it look like if you took the time to help somebody create $1 million business? I had a guy the other day just called me up. I've been coaching him for almost 2 years now. He did one business. It didn't really work out. He didn't really like it. He started up another business, and he called me up and he says, I made $10,000. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And then I was like, well, how much did it cost you on materials and this and that? And he goes, no, I made $10,000 profit on it. He goes, I made almost $20,000. My profit was $10,000. I was like, that's great. And then I sent that text to this black guy who's a flooring contractor, and I says, look at what this guy did. You can do this too. I'm not putting the pressure and demand on him to walk this thing alone, turn my back on him. No, I'm being a part of his life. We're doing life together. I'm trying to say, hey, how can I help you? 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 And I think that's the thing that we've lost focus on with systems. It's not, the police come up, they're not like, how can I help you? The pastors don't come up and say, how can I help you? Education doesn't come up and say, how can I help you? Businesses come up and say, how can I help you? Because they're looking for that dollar. But pivotal system, the probation officers, not how can I help you? Hey, piss in this cup because I'm going to judge you. I'm going to test you. I'm going to see if you're worthy, And when you go to church, they're basically getting the same treatment. Are you worthy? In education, they're saying, are you worthy to sit in this seat and listen to me as a teacher, or am I going to judge you and kick you out? Where can we say, how can we help you to make the quality of life better for people? What would that look like in society? What would this world look like if our first term out of our mouth is not, oh, you, but, oh, you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Was that not what Jesus did? He comes to blind Bartimaeus. How can I help you? How can I help you? We see it all the time. The child died. How can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Is that not love? Is how can I serve you? We always hear that, but then the pastors in churches say, how can you serve me? How can you serve the church? How can you serve God? Not how can we serve you as an individual who has needs, as a single mother who needs financial help, who needs more skills, who needs... We turn our back on people who have needs. How can I help you? Should be one of the foremost things that we're thinking about. Not what can I get from you? How can I help you? You're important. You're valuable. And so is everybody else in this world. How can we show value to more people? How can we show their importance? John the Baptist says, here's the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. To me, John the Baptist add value to everybody who had breath and whoever was going to have breath at that moment in time. He said, here's the Lamb of God who's going to be sacrificed. He's talking about value of people by the greatness of God's Son walking the earth who's going to be sacrificed for us. How have we lost that viewpoint? How can I help you? John the Baptist was basically saying, this is how God's going to help you. God's bringing his Son here to earth to be slain because he wants to help you. And what do? We turn our backs on God and we say, no, God's the punisher. And John the Baptist say, no, God's the forgiver. God's the blesser. God's the helper. God's the one who wants you to have the best quality of life. We need to be uttering the same words. We need to have the ministry of reconciliation. We need to have the ministry of redemption. You're important. You're valuable. And so is everybody else in this world. Until next time.